Hi everybody, hope you're well. So in the last video I sort of talked a bit about the publishing, how the coats get published and whatnot. Now I'm going to talk about the criteria for administration. So basically, to not have your coat rejected from the game, you need to make sure it meets certain criteria. Basically admin can refuse the creations, right? Without having to give you any explanation for the reason. So basically they can give you any reason they want. So for the golden apples, let's start off with that. There mustn't be anything other than the horse drawn in the drawing, so no background, no humans, no characters, no grass. So basically what this is saying is you can't draw a person sitting on it, okay? You won't be allowed. And you also don't want to be drawn, like a tree beside it or anything. You can do pretty much what you like in a helios ray, which we'll get to in a minute. But as for the golden apples, whether it's a donkey, a unicorn, a winged unicorn, a horse, a pegasus, or a pony, you can't, right? You have to just draw the horse, okay? Draft horses are not allowed, so there's no draft horses in the game. I know there's talk of having them for ECs, but that's not happened yet, so you're not allowed to draw draft horses. Horses wearing tack, including bits, stirrups, anything with a saddle tree or saddle blanket, are not accepted. Now, I have seen some horses in Golden Camel coats that have tack on them, but to be safe, I wouldn't advise drawing horses with the tack on them, okay? I would be careful. I have seen them, but it's nothing to stop horses from later removing them. Okay, so I would avoid putting tack on them. And then only one horse per illustration. So basically there can only be one horse in that little box, okay? You can't have 3 or whatever you feel like. You need to only have 1. And the horse must be submitted in the right category. Basically what this is saying is when you actually go to submit a coat, right? I'm just going to use this as an example. So I have this horse Pink Guinness, which I put in earlier, and I'm going to click 2 colors, and I'm just going to call it pink. I'll call it pink goo, okay? And put the golden apple. So if I click donkey, okay, and I click preview my drawing, okay, and hopefully this should load, okay. You see, this is, I'll get into that in a wee minute or two. Your coat does not upholstery format, so obviously I've put in the wrong one, but basically what I'm trying to say here is the horse that I have picked just now is this coat. If I can show you it, okay? So this is Pink Guinness. Obviously this is a unicorn, not a donkey, right? If you submitted that into the donkey category, then you're gonna have it removed because it wasn't what it's supposed to be, okay? It's obviously a unicorn and not a donkey. So that's what I'm basically trying to say there. Now, if we go back up here to the helios ray, the landscape must fill the entire space in the transform. I can't talk today. Transform form. So basically, all of this needs to be filled. Okay, you can't have big blank bits, where there's holes in it. And remember, this is a PNG file, so obviously, if there's big empty parts that you haven't painted, it's obvious. Going to be really obvious because there's going to be holes in it. Basically, it'll be like a patchwork blanket. So the next bit is whenever you preview the result, the horses must be right. So the horse basically mustn't be floating in thin air above the ground. What that's talking about is I mentioned this here. If, for example, you drew if you submitted your helios ray and you had drawn the grass here, say this was the sea, okay, and you decided to draw the horse sitting on a boat, okay, and you drew the boat here and the horse is like in the water. That's what we're kind of talking about there. Basically, where if the horse isn't on whatever it's supposed to be standing on. Obviously, you won't have that problem if you just draw a field and it's obvious that the horse is standing in the field and not in the sky or anything like that. So that's what that's talking about. So then for illustrations composed by a repetition of patterns or images not allowed. So basically what that's talking about is this is kind of, I suppose, where those brushes that you get that, will draw specific patterns or, draws you leaves automatically, things like that. So this is kind of where that's coming in. You can't use preset brushes that are like patterns, like whether it's beads or stars or whatever. I'm trying to think if I could show you one. So I'm just going to quickly open Art Rage, right? And I just drew this really big, silly blob on that, right? Basically, there's like a tool on this which lets me draw random. So this is an example of a preset brush, which is like, basically this has been set in, okay? And you can see it's like little beads, right? So if I go into stickers here, you see there's lots of different ones like that. And as nice and as pretty as these are, okay, you know, I couldn't use these because somebody else has made these and these aren't your own work. So that's kind of what that's talking about. Basically, you can't use things like that because it's not, you know, I didn't draw that flower was automatically set. I didn't make that gem because that gem's set, and so same thing with those things, whereas it's a bit different if I take one of these brushes, you know, and I draw grass eventually with it and I spend ages doing it, you know, with lots of different colours and whatnot. So that's kind of what that's talking about in a way. And that applies to the golden apple coats as well. So you must respect perspective rules. An element of the decor that is not correctly placed in relation to Howrse, problem with sizes of decor. So basically what you want to be very aware of, you know, I suppose with this is, say this, you drew a stable door, and the stable door is maybe like this size compared to, you know, when it should be maybe about that size. You need to take into consideration the proportions and the sizes in your drawings as well. So, and the last thing, you cannot use brush tools for drawing. So that's kind of what I was just covering there a minute ago when I was saying with these kind of tools here, which are letting you use, you know, this, you know, this basically is what this is talking about. Drawing, using things like that. Not necessarily that particular one, right? But things along those lines. I'm trying to show you another example if I just, so, you know, try that. So this is basically what that's talking about. It's using these preset brushes, okay, that let you to draw these random things. I'm not really talking about, you know, I'm not talking so much about brushes like this. You know, brushes like this are pretty fine because you could draw pretty much anything with that, okay? Whereas that's obviously just drawing wee beads. So I'll leave that there and then I'll get into all the rest of the next video. I hope you had a lovely day, guys. Bye!